Great. Good morning, everyone. Um,
Good morning.
it is 11:30, so our meeting start time. We're still waiting for a few committee members to log on, um, but in the meantime, I will go through our little preamble here and explain the rules and procedures, and then hopefully by the time we're done with that, we'll have enough committee members to start. So this is the April 3rd, 2025 meeting of the Historic Ohio City Design Review Advisory Committee. The virtual meeting regulations and procedures are as follows. Actions during the meeting will be taken by roll call vote. Recusal due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to the start of any presentation. The recused committee member will then leave the meeting for the duration of the case discussion. The chair will call the meeting to order and ask for a roll call of the committee. The administrator will introduce the first project. The meeting will then be turned over to the applicant to proceed through the presentation. Each presentation should be completed prior to questions and comments from the committee. Once the presentation is concluded, the administrator will provide background information and will read any received public comments when applicable. The committee will then begin deliberations and project review. Please use the raise hand feature if you'd like to speak. After deliberation review concludes, the committee will render its recommendation or motion. The applicant may leave the meeting at any point after their project review is complete. All projects will follow the same format until all projects are heard by the committee. Once all projects are heard, the chair will call for any committee or administrative reports. After all reports have been heard, the chair will adjourn the meeting. Regarding community comments, any and all community members may provide their written comments, thoughts, or questions regarding projects presented to the committee. Community members may also telephone their comments or questions to the committee administrator. All comments, thoughts, or questions must be submitted to the committee administrator no later than 48 hours prior to the start of the meeting. Public comment received after the deadline will not be heard by the committee. Public comment will be collected by Landmark staff and sent to the committee members for review prior to the scheduled meeting. Landmark staff will summarize the received comments during the meeting. The applicant of the project is under no obligation to answer any community questions. Community members are invited to attend Design Review Advisory Committee meetings, but there will be no open public comment period. All projects are being reviewed using the Secretary of the Interior standards for rehabilitation and are being considered for the issuance of a certificate of appropriateness. All projects are considered on a case-by-case basis. Presentations were received and distributed to committee members for review prior to the scheduled meeting. Changes to the presentation after confirmation of receipt by Landmark staff are not shown. The Historic Ohio City Design Review Advisory Committee makes recommendations to the Cleveland Landmarks Commission. Recommendations are not final actions. Depending on the scope of the project, submissions may be approved administratively or will need to be reviewed by the Cleveland Landmarks Commission. If that's the case, projects will be scheduled at the next available commission meeting after an action is taken. Just as a reminder to everyone, these are the Secretary of the Interior standards. If there's any questions about them during the meeting or their applicability, I'm happy to pull the slide back up. Let's see. Looks like we're still short on quorum, unless did the call-in users identify themselves real quick? Are there? Looks like we have a couple call-in users. Trying to figure out who they are.
Yeah.
Those are committee members. If you're calling in, could you identify yourself, please?
Is this for Cynthia Mato?
Okay, thank you.
Can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Yes. Yeah, I can
Okay.
hear you.
Okay. Am I ready to speak or?
Not yet.
know.
We're still getting the meeting started. I was just trying to
Oh,
see
okay.
if we had a quorum yet. It looks like we're number 2 short, but we do have our vice chair here, Mr. Talley. So, Phil, I think we should get the meeting started and do roll call, and then if other members join, we can just note at that point, and hopefully we'll have quorum by the time it comes to take any votes.
This is Tara Petrus, the public art coordinator. I'm also a call-in user. I wasn't able to join with the app today for some reason, so I've called in.
Gotcha. Thank you, Tara.
Thank you.
All right, so Phil, do you want to call the meeting to order? Or I guess Nia's here now too.
Oh, okay.
So, Nia, do you want to call the meeting to order and I can do roll call?
Yes, I'm so sorry. Calling today's Historic Ohio City Design Review Advisory Committee meeting to order. Dan, please call the roll.
All right, Ms. Anderson? Ms. Flaherty? Mr. Frondorf? Ms. Land? Mr. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Persons? Mr. Talley?
Here.
Mr. Trevisano?
Here.
And Ms. Marin?
Here.
Madam Chair, it looks like we are one short on quorum right now, but I do expect at least one more person to be showing up. A few people said they couldn't make it, but I think we should just proceed with the expectation that that one other person will show up before we have to take a vote, and if not, we can always just take comments and pass on to the commission. I guess we will move to our first case, which is case HOC 25-13 at 1777 West 31st Place, in the Ohio City Historic District siding installation. Cindy Amato is here calling in. So Cindy, I have your presentation up on the screen. So if you just,
Yeah.
are you able to see it or are you just on your phone?
No, I'm just on my phone.
Okay, I'll try and scroll through it as you talk and hopefully,
Okay.
yeah, so go ahead and I guess explain your project and
Okay, well,
what you're proposing.
as of right now, there is just all wood on the house. And the person that bought the house, which is Tom Wittering, he just bought it last year, and he's making that going to make it his primary home. So he, contacted me, and he would like to put vinyl siding on it, but he wanted, of course, vinyl siding that looks like real wood. So we picked out a wood grain, as much as we can, the heaviest wood grain that we can that would look like wood, and any wood that would, if there would be any wood that is rotted on the house, of course we would take it off and replace it. And he picked out a color scheme that was, the house is like a dark green now, but he picked out just a lighter, green siding. It's called seagrass, and then the trim of it is, right now it is like a red, and he wanted to change that to like an off-white color. He didn't want it to be anything like real crazy colors, but he said that if he had to, if they didn't agree on the color scheme, he's willing to change it up, if he had to. But he did not have the money to, replace, the entire house and, take it down to adding on the natural wood. He didn't have the money to do that. He only has money, enough funds to make the house look as presentable. And I would also, if I had to, use a wood grain finish on the coil and all the trim, also on, wrapping the windows. We weren't making the windows wrapped any smaller than they were. We were going to do it exactly how they were now. The front porch, we weren't going to do anything as far as the porch goes, because he said that down the road, after this was done, he was going to have a carpenter come in and redo anything as far as the trim for, on the porch. I think there's just a front porch, I think. No, he has a back porch also. But as far as like the trim, or the soffits on the porches, he was going to have that all um, stripped out, and he was going to have all that stained back to the natural wood. We weren't going to put any vinyl on that. And therefore, is no, I don't think there's any other soffit work on there. It's just really all wood trim, and he just wanted to have that covered and then change out the gutters, because right now he's got a lot of schemes going on. He just wanted to change it to two color schemes, which was the green and the off-white. And everything else was basically, it wasn't going to look too much. It wasn't, going to look too much different other than a fresh look. And the boards that he has on there now are 4-inch, and we thought we would have to probably keep it the same as a 4-inch, so we went with a 4-inch vinyl, the double 4. Also, the material that we're using is all, CertainTeed products, and, the warranties on them are all, lifetime warranties. We were going to put insulation on the walls. If we need to wrap the walls with the barrier, we will also wrap them, but any wood we would have to replace, of course, if it was rotted, because you can't nail to any rotted wood.
Thank you. Is the homeowner on the call?
No, but he did write me a letter and wanted me to forward it to you. I don't know if you got it or not.
Dan, is that something you can share?
I sent it to Jessica, but I do have a copy of it. Would you like me to read it to you?
You're muted, Dan.
Pardon me?
Sorry, thank you. Yeah, I'm not seeing it in the folder here. So yeah, if you don't mind reading it, that would probably be the easiest thing.
I could read it to you. It says, "Hello, Design Review Board members. As an architecture and design nerd, I start by saying how sad I am not to be able to attend today's meeting. In lay of sharing my love of this house, street, and neighborhood in person, I wanted to send a brief note capturing my rationale for the exterior design I've chosen, in the hopes that you'll see how much thought and consideration went into the planning of these updates. First, as a lifelong diehard Clevelander, one of my biggest purposes as an adult has been to advocate for and contribute to the revitalization of the city. Cleveland has such tremendous potential for all the reasons we Clevelanders know to outsiders: our sports teams, our symphony, arts, being food, and more. But as someone who's lived for brief stints in Seattle, Boston, and Chicago, I know the power architecture, particularly in a city's neighborhood, has on an outsider's view of the city. It's for that reason that with every home I've purchased, I've given particular care and attention to the exterior appearance and landscaping. It's also for that reason that I have chosen to call 1777 West 31st Street Place my home. Ohio City is often the first neighborhood a visitor sees, and 31st Place is a special part of that neighborhood, full of color and history. Walking down 31st, you can't help but be drawn into the prismatic, bold color schemes owners have chosen for their homes, from deep royal purples to marigold, and in the case of my home, what used to be deep forest green. 1777 central location, close proximity to the road, and lack of landscaping in front makes it stick out. My goal is for that to be a good thing for the street rather than detriment. Unfortunately, the previous owners allowed the siding to go unserviced for years, causing the paint to crack and wide swaths of old cedar planking to fall off, making the current siding unsalvageable and causing immediate and ongoing risk to the underlying structure of the not fixed quickly. In consulting with 5 siding companies, each encouraging me to add new siding directly over the existing due to the energy savings associated with the added layer of insulation and the logisticity difficulty of removing the old planks. Use premium vinyl siding for its longevity, ease, and care, and warranty coverage. After comparing options, Cindy Amato and Joseph's Home Improvement Company clearly shared my vision for the house and neighborhood. not only promising lasting quality of the materials and insulation, but also taking the time to help me consider the color and design options that would blend with the street and stand the test of time. We were intentional in choosing wood-like siding and shake peaks to match the period the home was built, a color scheme that would complement the prism without garish, and new gutters and fascia to pull it all together. I'm excited for what the home will be after Cindy's team is done and hope my neighbors, future visitors, and you will be as well. If you'd like to discuss further, I'm happy to do so, but my hope is that the board will approve our current design in short order so we can protect the home and fix the eyesore it's become. Thank you, Tom Wintering.
Thank you. I wish that they were here to discuss more with us, but definitely appreciate their, I appreciate their attention and level of detail and enthusiasm about the home. My reservation with covering up this house with vinyl is that not only is it not addressing the repairs that I think need to be made to ensure that the home is really taken care of in its next era of life with this new owner, but also that it appears to be original material, and the onus of this board as advisory committee to the historic district standards, the priority would be to repair and replace the existing material, and that would be my preference for at least this primary facade and the majority of that side that is very visible given the driveway. That's my and to be clear, the design choices in terms of color and all of that, I don't have any issues with the colors or anything like that. It's just the covering up original material with vinyl and just looking at the criteria of the Secretary of Interior standards, it seems to be not compatible with those criteria. So let my fellow board members give their opinions.
Yeah, I can jump in. I agree with everything you just said, Nia. I think we don't have precedent of vinyl siding replacing wood. At times we replace wood with fiber cement within the historic district. Down 31st Street, every other house is either wood or brick and kind of holds to that historic character. So especially at those two front-facing street facades, I would be opposed to trading that in for vinyl siding. The other kind of the rest of the character of the color and all of that as shown, that all looks fine, and I take no exception to that.
Same kind of comments, I think, throughout this historic district with wood siding that has peeling paint or deteriorating wood siding portions. We advise scrape and repaint and or replace particular siding components with like materials, either wood or fiberboard.
So can I speak?
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, you can respond to that.
Pardon me?
Yes, feel free to respond.
So you're saying that you cannot use vinyl? Even though it looks, I mean, it's the heaviest wood grain. It looks just like it. I mean, the house across the street has aluminum on it. What does somebody do?
The Secretary of Interior standards, which is what this historic district follows, is beholden to, is pretty explicit about the preservation of original material and or replacement in kind, like Angelo stated. And then there are cases, first of all, there's many examples of things that were done prior to the adoption of the historic district. So for example, the aluminum siding you see is likely 40 to 50 years old. prior to the adoption of this district, but in general, the board does not approve or very rarely approves final applications. And in this, every house is different, every single property is different, case by case, always. In this particular case, we have what appears to be original material that I would hope could be salvaged or repaired using like the best practice for restoration.
So if you if you take off all the wood, like how the people are using, you know, the hardy board and all that right now, I mean, they have to it's like they're building a whole new house. I mean, who can, I mean, how can you expect people to afford that?
No, we're certainly sensitive to that and would consider it, but we're not suggesting that you take off all the wood and replace it with hardy board. We're suggesting scraping the paint and repairing the cladding that's here. I'm not looking at it in person. I've not consulted on this. I've not seen it in person, but it does look like it could be salvageable, majority of it, from what we're seeing on this presentation. Was that explored at all? Just repairing the siding?
Well, no, he doesn't. He does not want to spend the money on painting. You know, he wants to, you know, cover it and make it look like it's brand new. And in order to do that, he would have to, I mean, just by scraping and painting is not going to cover it. I mean, I've seen houses that are scraped and painted, and they all peel. I mean, this is a product that we're putting on that is a lifetime product. I mean, I've done houses 25 years ago, and I go back and people want to just change the color, or they, you know, and they just change it. But I mean, this is a product that lasts forever. There's no, you know, there's no maintenance to it. It rains and it looks like it's brand new again.
We can appreciate that. This house is in a historic district, so there are criteria that have to be met in order to be approved for the work, and we're not seeing, I would say, sufficient evidence that this couldn't be salvaged.
So let me ask you, would it be possible to just do the side? Because the one side of the house is like not even um, two 2 feet away from the other house. I mean, it's so close, and nobody will ever even see that unless they were walking through it. And I don't even know why anybody would. You couldn't even walk through it. I could barely walk through it. But I mean, to do the two sides in the back and then have the whole front done, you know, then he could scrape and paint just the front of it maybe to match
I would be
whatever he.
open. I personally would be open to that. I'm curious, like, what covering up the existing conditions are in vinyl is going to do in terms of actually addressing the deterioration of the home. Vinyl in cases.
Well, the house isn't deteriorating. It's just very peeled from, you know, putting paint over it all the, you know, for all the years. I guess he may have had, um, you know, prices on having it scraped and painted, and by the time it got done, it was the same exact price, you know, of me putting up vinyl, that he would never have to do it again. So he said, so I said, well, maybe you could do this, just the front, the back, and then the one side that which nobody's ever going to see, and then just paint and have the front of the house scraped and you know, painted. You know, when he redoes the front porch, then he would do the whole front of the house. I mean, and then all three sides would look brand new, and then they would just have to worry about focusing on the front of the house.
For me, I would want to see this left side, the one that you're showing in the photo that's on the screen right now, also treated in the same manner in terms of preserving what's there. I would say that if it is not a deterioration issue, then I would say that scraping and painting and maintaining the historic material throughout is by far my preference. Yes, homes come with maintenance. Historic homes come with maintenance. That's the trade-off of living in such a beautiful eclectic community that he described in his letter is having to also maintain the home per these criteria. And if he wants to return, I'd be happy to have that conversation with him.
Okay, then, I mean, I would have to have him maybe, you know, present, have a, you know, a meeting. I mean, I
Dan,
don't,
is this a homeowner that you guys had met with previously, or just, you know, shared the criteria with before?
well, he's
Um,
a, you know, he's young, he's like, are you talking to me? I'm sorry.
yeah,
I
no,
asked Dan.
yeah, I believe
Staff
this
has
one just came to us through the normal permit process.
through
So
normal
they
channel.
applied for a permit through building and housing, and the contractor was the applicant. So we reached out with the
Got it.
contact info we had.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, we don't have a quorum, so we could not take a vote. So they would could take our comments and go to Landmarks, right? Or they could, which I can't speak for Landmarks, but I anticipate you hear similar commentary from them, from that board. But the other option is that the homeowner could meet with Landmarks, and their office is well equipped with explaining all of these options to them and making sure that they are well informed on the decisions for their house and the criteria.
Yeah, staff would be happy to work with the applicant on coming up with a kind of revised, I guess, more detailed scope of work. And then I guess would you guys want to see this again after something was sorted out? I guess with the hopes that at that point we could administratively approve it, having to go to the commission.
We didn't hear from Philip, but if Philip's in agreement that, you know, with the 4 board members present, I think it would be okay, Dan, to work with you. You are well aware of, we've made our opinions known, so.
Yeah, I'm 100% in agreement.
Okay.
Is that amenable to you, Cindy? Like basically, you'd have to come back to this committee in 2 weeks, hopefully with the homeowner present, or if not, at least having talked to him. And like I said, I'm happy to work with you guys to come up with a scope of work that I think would would be approvable by the committee here. Does that sound good, or would you rather just come to the Landmarks Commission next week?
No, I would like to have him, you know, come to the meeting and, you know, see what we could come up with.
Okay, then we will do that. We don't have to vote on it because we do not have quorum. But
If you were gonna
that's
vote, if you were gonna vote on it, I'm sorry. Hello?
yeah, I was just saying there's no
I mean,
no
if
vote
you
to
were
be
gonna,
taken because we don't have quorum. So those are kind of the options. It's either, you know, wait 2 weeks, work
so
with staff in the meantime, or go to the commission.
okay, so if you were gonna vote on it though today, you would say absolutely not.
My impression is that if the committee was voting on what was presented today, it would probably be denied.
Mhm.
So
So,
I'm happy to work with you to try and revise that scope of work so that when you come back in 2 weeks, you can get an approval.
okay, all right, then I will get the homeowner and I will tell him that, you know, we have to go up against it again.
Yeah, and in the meantime, we can have some back and forth, and yeah, we can talk,
Okay,
you know, tomorrow or early next week and figure this out.
okay. Because would it be possible if, you know, by any chance, if he picked out something else that I know he does not want to paint and scrape. I know he does not want to do that. So, you know, would he, and he doesn't have, you know, the funds to put on anything more that's going to be, you know, that he's out of his budget. I mean, he's got a budget
Mhm.
and, you know, but if I could find something that looks more, even heavier wood grain siding or something like that, I mean,
Yeah, I think the heavier wood grain is further away from where we want to be. I think, you know, typically the committee prefers to see like smooth grain because really when you think about painted houses, if you can see all the wood grain, it's usually not a good sign. But vinyl and aluminum siding all seem to include that. So it's, I think with normal clapboard siding like this, the smoother, the better. Kind of the less
Well, I mean,
attention it draws to
I
itself.
I mean, I do have the same thing that he liked, only in a smooth look. I mean, would that be more, would that pass more?
It sounds like the committee has issues with the just being on the front of the building in particular. So let's talk offline, and I've got some ideas, and I think we could come up with a good compromise that would be approvable by the committee and hopefully amenable to the homeowner.
Okay, because if it does come to the point where, you know, that he can only do the three sides and not the front of the house, I'm sure that he would, you know, be fine with that. But, you know,
Okay.
you'll have to come up with a decision, okay?
Yeah,
So,
we can work
all
on
right,
that. Maybe we can meet on site next week or something. But I will reach out. Either, you know, it'll probably be tomorrow or Monday, so we can get something
okay,
scheduled.
okay, great.
All right.
Okay,
Thank you very
all
much,
right,
Cindy.
all right. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Am I done now?
Yeah, you're free to leave.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
All right. Next up, we have case HOC 25-14. It's the art garden is a mural on the Judith at 5222 Lorraine Avenue in the Lorraine Avenue Commercial Historic District. Looks like we have Ariel Vargas here to present. And yeah, since we still don't have quorum, this works out well since this would be going to the commission either way since it's public art. So we'll also be hearing from Tara Petros, our public art coordinator. So with all that, Ariel, if you want to walk through your presentation, let me know when you want me to switch slides.
Hello, committee. Ariel. This is part of the Transformative Arts Fund grant that was awarded. And this program specifically is the Art Garden. And we're looking at creating some public arts pieces in Ohio City and the larger Clark Fulton and Stockyard neighborhoods. And this one in particular, the location is, as you said, is on the Judith building. And before, there used to be a house that was on that empty lot that got demolished. And during the time that the equipment was there, graffiti writers, you know, took advantage and tagged up the side of the Judith building. And I know it's been a sore spot for the owners for a while. And you know, we were talking through the program and if they'd be available to participate in it. And with the approval of the landowner or the property owner, we came up with a concept that gives homage to like the French side of like the Parisian style cafe, and also the Americana nature of the community in that area, and came up with like the Chanteroux, which is like the song of the king. And it's this regal rooster that embodies like the red, white, and blue colorings of both the French flag and the American flag. And really an homage to, you know, they're really big on gardening and making sure that they have premium ingredients, but also giving a like a French imperialist, impressionistic style with the rooster, so that, you know, embellished in details, but still has like an ephemeral feel to the overall painting. As far as process, we got for the foundation, we wanted to use a masonry paint fill, and then we do aerosol on top of that paint layer. And then the last one that was the maintenance plan. It's like talking with the owner because of the nature of the project. This project, at the end of its completion, we can't touch it through the TAF programming. But with the owner, we came up with a plan that every 3 years we should put a seal on it just to preserve it, a clear seal, and we would split the material cost. And then the last little detail that you can see on here is taking advantage of some of the architectural details that the building has in profile, where like some of those brick pieces come out, and embellish them on that side with like a gold aerosol paint. And gold in appearance, not like actual gold. But. And I open it up. I don't know if Luis, if you have anything to add on the community side.
No. Just for context, my name is Luis. I'm the Arts and Culture Coordinator here at Metro West CDC, the neighboring CDC. And, just came on here to support Ariel. We're working really close with him on this project, so been supporting him through it. I think you hit it all. Obviously, this is a privately owned business, so community feedback may not be essential because at the end of the day, it's going through these bodies, and also, it is privately owned, but they did want to give homage to the heritage, the Eastern European heritage, kind of a French cafe, as Hari had mentioned, and the French rooster is kind of an emblem of that. So yeah, just came here to support.
And then the last comment, I missed this one, was I know that in talking with the owners that this spring and summer, they're going to be doing a lot more outdoor events. So it'll be pretty photogenic for any passerbyers and those that are partaking in the restaurants outings.
Tara?
Thank you. I just wanted to say that I strongly support this mural. I love this artwork style. I think it pays homage to the history of the building in the area. It addresses the mitigation needed of the graffiti and turns an eyesore into a beautiful work of art. We also did receive a letter of support from Councilwoman Spencer, whose ward this is in. And we also, and I did submit that to Landmarks for the record, as well as a letter of permission from the owner on behalf of Wandering Moose LLC. And I hope it does get approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Tara.
Thank you, Tara.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
I was just going to chime in and say, yeah, since this is public art, it'll have to go to the Landmarks Commission. Either way, I think I mentioned that before, but so yeah, whatever comments you guys have, happy to pass those along.
And I forgot to mention also that this is one of several activations, art activations that Ariel's Art Collective is working on.
Thank you. This body does not have any control or over the content of the art proposed. Though I will say personally, I really love what you're showing here. Where we do want to pay attention is the health of the original material underneath. So I think a gap for me in this presentation is just like a good photo, like this photo without the Photoshop, so we can see the condition of this facade. Is it possible, Dan, to pull up Street View? Because I did peruse it the other day, and you can see it pretty clearly in Street View. Even better
right
than the
like that last slide had it. If you could zoom in. Yeah,
my ideal scenario would be we have a little tighter view of it. Just to, I'm familiar with the building in person, so just for the sake of the conversation.
For sure.
If you gonna say if you move, yes, I was like, if you move forward or back, it will pop into place. Okay. So I was looking at this the other day. Okay, so we do have a heavy graffiti on the building. I personally saw at the top of the structure in particular, it looks like there is some deterioration of the brick, some spalling of the brick up on that parapet level. Are there any, and I don't know, forgive me because I don't know if ownership is on the call, but is there any intention, thought to making any repairs prior to the installation of the art?
I wasn't aware that there was any structural damages, and that wasn't part of the conversation.
Do you see what I mean though? Like up there?
I
Mhm.
It's not my thing.
I think it would
I
be a
wouldn't be
good
able to.
consideration.
Like the only thing we can
Oh,
offer is,
I just, it might be,
sealing the paint.
that's okay. I'm not, I don't think it would be, the onus would be on you. It's more just a question of the, probably for the building owner, but if they're not present, then, my concern with that is just the longevity of the mural, if that would
Issues later.
cause future issues sooner than later. And what would be the best method to preserve both the, first our onus is of course the brick first, but then in the existing structure first, but also preserving your art. Any other, and Margaret, our usual expert on this type of stuff, is not here today. Do any of my other committee members have thoughts or considerations
My
here?
comment was going to be similar to yours, Nia, about like especially applying any sort of sealer to what appears to be a very old set of bricks in this wall here, and how that'll affect or accelerate deterioration of these kind of already failing bricks. Yeah, and like you were saying, like if these bricks are already in the progress of failing, like will part of this mural just continue to fall off? I feel like that's kind of a question for the full Landmarks Commission, though, on how they want to address this. But with the art, 2 thumbs up. I think who could object to this art? So.
Appreciate that.
I think that's a good point, Angela, is if we are going to have this picked to landmarks, is letting them give their opinion just with our note, our stated comments of what we've noted. Brant or Phil, do you guys have any thoughts?
Oh, yeah, I'm in full agreement. You definitely don't. I mean, it's a great mural. You definitely don't want the bricks falling down, or pieces of bricks falling down. So I don't know if that, yeah, landmarks, or if Dan, that's a discussion, that you're able to have with the building owner, just to make sure it's all safe. Um, I love the mural. I think it's great. The sort of bricks on the first floor, this is a good view because I can see where you were talking about doing doing kind of the gilding, was it? You were gonna
Mm-hmm.
do gold along that side.
Mm-hmm.
Are
Yeah.
you thinking that it looked like the gold was just going up to kind of that level where the mouse is now? It's not, you're not gonna take it all the way up to the top?
The piece, it goes all the way to the top. You see? Yeah, it goes all the way to the top. It was
Okay, I was like, I feel like I'm just seeing it on the first floor, but it, well, regardless, I mean, I'm not here to judge. I was just curious about the decision to do that, or if it made sense to try to bring it up. I think it's a wonderful detail, and a wonderful image. So I look forward to seeing it.
and then looking at the that image again on the Google Maps, when you're saying like addressing some of those issues with potentially like kind of like what's happening now, where they have spots that they did a cover. I'm not sure if they're using plaster or some kind of cement. Um, Making sure that that kind of spot detail happens to those failing areas.
Well, I mean, I think the detail specifically, because it's like around the parapet area, there's parts where kind of ground is coming out. We just want to make
Hmm.
sure that structurally it stays up. Um,
Yeah.
I don't think the detail would be putting a parch coat over kind of everything. Or the solution would be. It feels like that needs to be a more in-depth conversation, kind of between the owner and possibly someone who does brick restoration.
Hmm.
Um, which again is not, the onus is not on you. Kind
Right.
of the onus is on um
No.
the owner to have the conversation. And like I said, I don't know if this is I don't know if um administratively we can just reach out and be like, well, this is a concern. Have you had this inspected, or have you had this like looked at? Obviously we don't want, with them putting up such a wonderful mural, we obviously don't want to enforce any kind of financial, kind of issues with this. We want this to move forward, we want to beautify the neighborhood. We just, like I said, like Nia's been saying, just got to make sure it's safe and the structure is preserved, and it's a suitable canvas for you to move forward and paint on.
Okay.
So as long as someone has the conversation, I'm pretty content.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just
And
to
again, we
say,
don't have,
Tara,
we don't,
Yeah, I have one more comment, I guess, before we move forward.
yeah,
So I'm not going to repeat
go ahead,
anything
Dan.
with the brick. I also think the mural is beautiful and a great addition to this facade. The one detail that I see, I appreciate how you're stepping kind of back the front facade and not covering up that yellow brick. It looks like that
Hmm.
yellow brick kind of continues in that pattern, underneath where the graffiti is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I guess keeping that detail all the way up so you can kind of read the front facade of the building, and then, cleaning that part and then just kind of keying in the mural on that side would be my
Yeah.
only suggestion.
Okay.
Thanks,
That's it.
Brent. I agree now that you've pointed that out. So again, we don't have quorum, so my understanding is either way you're going to landmarks, and I think that they will probably, I'm guessing you'll hear similar conversations. So,
Okay.
right, Dan? Like we don't have
And
any
then
action.
just from your guys' suggestions, I'll see uh, that for the maintenance plan that that we just put like if they had to do any repairs on the wall, that'd be a time that we'd address any touch-ups as well, not just a clear coat if needed.
Mhm.
That way at least there's a 3-year plan of like if anything happens, we can have the art recovered.
Yeah,
Because that's all I
and
can do on
I
my
think
end. And then, it's all like you
yeah,
guys said, it's on the onus of the owner to figure out the brick.
yeah, maybe that's a conversation if Lisa or Tara, looks like she's got her hand up, has had some contact with the building owner. Maybe they could kind of start that
Mhm.
conversation. Um, but yeah, this will have to go to Landmarks Commission either way. Tara, I believe this will have to go to Planning Commission as well, the way things stand now, correct?
Um, they could just go to landmarks because they're gonna overrule planning commission anyway. But yeah, my question was because I don't know if anyone saw it in the chat. I know it's not the typical like tuck pointing and replacement of brick that we would normally see, but because it's not a primary facade and it's gonna have a solid black background with quite a bit of detail over it, I was wondering if they could maybe skim coat those areas of the brick, if that would be something that would make it a little more structurally sound in that area, since it's going to be painted over anyway. But someone asked after I put it in the chat. I think Adiel asked something about that. But like I said, I know that's not traditional, but it seems like it could be a good cost-effective solution. I don't think it would be noticeable once the art is on the building.
I think that could be an option to explore. I think that once historic brick deteriorates in the manner that this seems to be deteriorating, I don't know that ends up. I guess I'm not well educated enough to know if that would really solve or hurt either way. But I think it's an option on the table. It's just some questions for ownership, the building owner, and what, again, protecting the building, protecting the investment in the art together. And it sounds
Absolutely.
like
Thank
too,
you.
as as neighbors and residents, you have prolific support from us privately on the project. So really want it to come to fruition. So just making sure that those little, everything's protected.
Thanks, Sarah. Thank you.
Do you feel like the conversation was productive enough to take it to landmarks?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, great.
Thank
Thank
you
you so
guys.
much.
Have you on the agenda for next week. So we'll be in touch about that. But yeah, thank you guys for walking us through it.
All right. Have a good one.
All right, thank you.
Yep. And so with that, we'll move on to our last agenda item, which is case HOC 25-15 at 5600 Lorraine Avenue. It's a renovation. We've got Lucas Staub from ODK here to walk us through. So yeah, Lucas, you want to let me know when you want me to switch slides?
Sure thing. Thanks for having me. And just for the record, the owner of the building, Sarah, is on the call too if there's any questions. But I put together this presentation as the applicant for the building permit, which then kicked us your way. I think Jessica was nice enough to let us know that we'd have to come before in order to achieve building permit. So just want to give you guys a little insight to what we're hoping to do with this renovation permit. So the project is at 5600 Lorraine Avenue. It's an existing building. Dan, if you don't mind scrolling forward, just give you a location here. It's corner of West 57th and Lorraine. It's an existing masonry building. And keep going. So here's the Google Street View of it. Not sure what was in it before. There's a front portion of the building that we'll look at here in a second that seemed to have a certain level of finish to it, and then a back portion that is definitely just kind of a rough and tumble warehouse storage situation, and kind of hoping to bring it back to that use. Keep going, please. So a little bit about the entity that is hoping to call this their new HQ. This is Sarah's nonprofit. It's called Partnership for Good Health, and these are just snippets from their website. Just wanted to give you guys a little insight about what they do, but I think they provide a really nice service to the community. Next slide. A little bit more information about what they do specifically for the community. And then these are the documents that were submitted for permit that kind of kicked us into this review here. So not trying to do a pretty, anything extensive here. We got the cover sheet just for the code data. These are the existing floor plans. Starting on the right side is the existing ground floor. As you can see, kind of about halfway through the building is where there's another CMU that kind of defines the space between what was the front area of the building. I'm not sure if it used to be a storefront or a commercial entity of some sort. It's pretty dilapidated inside right now. And then the back area was all exposed bar joist and CMU walls that is all to be kind of remain as warehouse storage. And if you go down, we can show you the proposed front area. This is the area that we're hoping to renovate to become the office space for Partnership for Good Health. So utilizing the existing front door opening, and there's actually some old glass block or some openings that were actually blocked in, and we're hoping to open those back up and put new storefront systems in those. Just to match the existing openings, and then adding, as you can see, a few interior walls. We're hoping to utilize the existing furnace and hot water tank. A lot of the stuff has been relatively updated for whoever owned the building last. So working with the GC to maintain a lot of the utilities and just add some new interior walls to make it more of a usable office space for Sarah and her team. Some quick exterior elevations, just pointing out the locations where we're hoping to remove either the existing glass block or the existing CMU infill, and replace that with new storefront. You're also seeing the new front entry door at the corner. That'll be a typical commercial storefront entry door. And then a new garage door on the back that opens up to the rest of the lot. Next slide, please. So just some more exterior images. Here you're seeing the corner that faces the street. And there you're seeing the glass block infill. We're just hoping to take out all that glass block that you're seeing on the front and have a nice clean storefront system in there. There was a similar situation on the 57th side of the building. There's an existing steel lintel, and you can see the opening in the sill that still remain, but that one has been blocked in. It is our goal to unblock that and put a very similar storefront window in that. If you keep going, I think there's a shot of the side of the building that might show that opening and also two other smaller openings. Number 11 there, Dan, if you have, there you go, yep. Overall, the structural integrity of the building is still good. Just some paint chipping on the outside, which, you know, Sarah's hoping to have the GC scrape off and repaint it. And you'll see a suggestion for what color she's hoping for towards the bottom. But these two smaller windows here in the, I would say, front third of the building are in what will be her office space. So we're hoping to remove those glass blocks as well and put in some awning windows for some natural daylight and some fresh air for her team. I think there's a couple interior images. You can see the condition of the building. So this slide 14 shows that interior office space. Again, I use that description a little bit loosely. It's still CMU, it's still kind of exposed joists, exposed structure, but somebody had cleaned the space up and used it at one point for something more than just the warehouse that's in the back. And so we're hoping to kind of bring that back. Some of the existing mechanicals and utilities we're hoping to reutilize. The bathroom itself will be completely gutted. The plumbing locations will stay in about the same way, but we'll be doing all new ADA compliant bathrooms for this commercial space. And then the last few photos here are the back storage area, which Sarah's hoping to utilize as storage for now as well. I think the last slide is just a real quick mock-up. I apologize for its rudimentariness, but I just want to give you guys an idea of, you know, just the window locations, and there's some concept photos on the side showing, you know, what it looks like when we replace a storefront, you know, an existing opening and put a new storefront door or window in there. It's a project we just did down the street on Lorraine. And then Sarah's, I don't know if Sarah's locked it in, but she's considering this yellowish color that you're seeing in the bottom right and working with the GC to establish that paint. That's all I had, guys. Sarah, I don't know if you want to add anything, if I missed anything. Otherwise interested in the committee's comment as well.
Sorry, then moving to the other room in our office, so you're not hearing everyone's chatting behind me. Thank you for the presentation. Do we know like the age of the building? I'm assuming the CMU indicates that it's not our usual 19th century situation.
I don't have a date on the building, but nothing that we were supplied indicated any kind of historic relevance.
Okay, unless, well, first I wanted to say thank you to the owner for what seems like a fantastic service, and also for the attention to care in detail on what I would call is like a little weirdo building, which most people don't see the value in, and I really do appreciate that. It's what helps keep our little pocket pretty eclectic, is keeping these spaces as well. I don't know that I have any comments other than that. In terms, the only thing I would say, and this is specific to their services and their needs, is that if they wanted to make those little storefront windows and those two flanking ones that we're looking at right now a little bit bigger, lower those sills for a little bit more daylight, that might be nice, but I'm not sure if that's a safety or privacy issue for them. So I think that may be my only suggestion.
Just as far as the age of the building goes, I would guess like 1950s. It looks like based on the old Sanborn maps, up 1927 through 37, there was a gas station, sort of in the back corner of where the building sits now. But this, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that building is buried back in this building, but it looks more like they tore it down and just popped this one up. Again, yeah, I guess 50s, maybe 60s. So not, I guess it's 50 years old, but not really historic.
I am also in agreement with Nia, especially with lowering those sills. I maybe it's too far, but I wouldn't be opposed to any other punched openings just for more daylight or something that kind of help with the inside. Kind of once it's done, but yeah, that's all I got.
Yep. I agree that I'm good with this as presented, but agree with the committee members that if there needed to be or wanted to be more windows for making it a more habitable space, based on the age of the building and its location, I don't see any issue with doing that.
Yeah, I don't want to speak for Sarah. Sarah, if you did want to chime in, you're muted, but I don't want to talk about privacy or security concerns. I think that's more about operations on her side. From a construction standpoint, working with the GC and working within, you know, a set budget, we just said, okay, this opening exists, the lintel is there, which I know you guys aren't suggesting changing that, but also the concrete sill is already there as well. So we just thought that was a kind of a clean approach. I agree. I think we talked out the option of lowering those down with Sarah, and I think at that junction we just said, well, you know, based off of budget and based off of what we want to achieve here, I think that would be a nice improvement for the building and the users.
Yeah, I think ultimately it became the budget topic or, you know, budget decision, but also a lot of the community members that will come, we didn't want to open up too much just so that it's more of a secure place for them. And we're talking about health, you know, their health. So we wanted to make sure it still maintained some privacy for them.
I do have
Yeah, I had a
just kind of
feeling.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I just had a feeling that that was a consideration in this situation as well. So appreciate your addition to the conversation.
Yeah, thank you. Good points. From a procedural standpoint, you know, our ultimate goal is here is to get the renovation underway as soon as possible. And I'm just a little bit concerned, you know, Dan had mentioned a couple of times on the previous discussions about a quorum, you know, what is needed today in order for us to get that much closer to a building permit approved?
So at this point, we have a pencil in for the Landmarks Commission agenda for next week. So you just give the same
Okay.
presentation, or if you want to modify it at all before the end of the day, that's fine. But just give this presentation to the Landmarks Commission, and then I will pass on their comments about the idea of lowering, that they're open to lowering the window sills or adding more windows, but that also that programmatically that is not ideal given the potential use.
Great.
Or the future use, I should say.
But it's not something that we're not gonna have to come back to this committee necessarily because we don't have a quorum today. We can keep moving forward to landmarks.
Correct. Yeah. We don't
Correct.
hold you accountable for our absences. Or at least we try not to.
Thanks, guys. We appreciate the notes.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, guys. I guess with that, that's the end of our project reviews. We have our next meeting is scheduled for April 17th. I think we might already have something, scheduled for it. I guess we'll be seeing probably the West 31st case again. So plan on seeing everyone there. And if
I have a quick question. For the cases that come before us for putting vinyl on Like just an example, like today's wood clap sideboard. We have a policy for roof, we have a policy for solar, there's some other policy, like a window policy. Does a policy already exist or some sort of information that can be given to applicants before they get to us to kind of avoid some of the shock that I think comes with some contractors hearing some of this for the first time, that they can't put vinyl in a historic district? Do you know if there's any kind of, because I feel like this is like an easy one and we get it so often that
Yeah.
I sort of feel like we're so mean in popping this one on contractors, but what should be quite obvious and not, yeah, just curious to people's thoughts and whether that can be helpful in this process.
Yeah, we are working on a siding policy that will be kind of similar to the window, um, and the windows and the roof and the solar panel policy. It's it's one of those issues that seems like it should be straightforward, but the more we dig into it, the more we're like, oh well, like there's so many different circumstances, different cases, different types of siding, different treatments, different options. So it's ended up being a bit more complicated. So we're trying to find a way to make it clear, concise, and helpful, but not, I guess, just as confusing. Like not too broad. Like the Secretary of the Interior standards are a little, I think, too broad for most people, at least, contractors interpreting stuff like that. But yeah, it's in the works. I think the National Park Service has a National Register bulletin on the treatment of siding, but again, it gives very similar advice to what you guys typically say, like just don't use vinyl, scrape and repair. Like that's, yeah, those documents tend to be, follow basically preservation rules instead of like that sort of flexibility. And siding is one of those tricky ones too, because while we use the Secretary of the Interior standards, we also have different historic districts that have different community standards, as far as what they consider appropriate or acceptable, and cost uh, and like homeowners' ability to pay for certain things plays into it as
Right.
well. So it's a lot to unpack. I mean, I think what would be really ideal, I guess, is if we could work with um, OCI on establishing some design guidelines specific um, to the neighborhood. I mean, it might make sense to have, I don't know, either one for all the historic districts in Ohio City, or have one for residential, one for commercial, but it's just that sort of clearly outline what the expectations are in this neighborhood, because they're different than over in Ludlow, where it's a historic district, but it's a historic district more for the social history. Like the architecture is less critical to understanding it than Ohio City, where it's really the architecture and the historic buildings are what make the district. So
Yeah, I think it's there's always nuance, right? Policy is like best practice, but we can take in hardship. There's nuance to every project, and I think that there's a general policy, but if someone still wants to come before the committee, then they can. But that particular one was a little tough. Sometimes I have a hard time discerning if a contractor is selling a product.
Oh yeah.
And or this case, the homeowner seemed to be very well intended, but maybe just was genuinely uneducated on their criteria, and would have been really nice to have them there. And I wanted to suggest that you work with the homeowner rather than with the contractor, because they may or may not have. I couldn't even tell. Was this a vinyl installer or was this a GC? I have no idea. So that would be a piece of the puzzle. And they also admitted that it was the same cost to scrape and paint. So I'm not sure. That one was a little bit.
I think they're trying to say you'll never have to paint again if they install vinyl.
This might be a shock
So
to everyone.
over 1,000 years.
Vinyl has maintenance too. Any home has maintenance. You're never going to have maintenance-free home.
That's not what they
Sorry,
told me.
the break people
I
starts
think it
every
might
day.
just be, yeah, I think it'd be good like if we just say, hey, the default rule is for peeling paint, scrape the paint and repaint it. Like it's just kind of like default. And then we can like deviate from there, but at least not have them present an entire project, get all excited and read off a whole letter and
It
just
was
have
sweet.
us
It was
destroy
endearing.
them.
I
Yeah.
apologize. That letter was longer than I thought. I didn't get that. I didn't get that email, so I hadn't seen it. I thought it
Well,
was just
that's
gonna.
and it's why I wish this is a well-intended. It seems to be a well-intended person, and I would
Yeah.
love to have had him here to talk about it. The other thing is I'm also hot off a visit from DC and seeing a lot of historic preservation standards, and I'm like, you know what? We have a real lax situation compared to majority of this country's approach to historic districts. So
Yes.
I, might need
It
a
is
little bit
always
more.
interesting to travel and admire the windows and siding in other cities.
Yes. I'm like, yeah, scrape and paint. It's been up there for like 150 years. It's going to be good. It's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Dan,
Yeah.
I had another question, and it was more about how this design review committee can learn about landmarks decisions on cases that we have previously discussed
Yeah.
as a method of like kind of calibrating ourselves, just
Yep.
because of our like split the window thing that we did before.
Yeah.
It would be helpful for me to know as opposed to trying to search through a multi-hour landmarks commission YouTube video.
You don't watch our meetings?
I,
Nice. No,
man, just not every
um,
time. Not every time.
no, that's actually Jessica and I were just talking about that. I guess it's been a discussion over the last few weeks, I guess, just trying to make, part of our meeting or part of our local design review meetings like that last part, the administrative report is would essentially be here's what from your committee has gone to the commission and here were the outcomes, just to kind of keep you guys in the loop as to how things turned out, but then also an opportunity to discuss, if there were, what the commission's reason was for, not agreeing with you, or what, like if there is some disagreement, like where they're coming from, or what the discussion was. So with several different committees, and we're trying to keep them all fairly equal. So we're still trying to figure out the best way to do that. We're trying to discuss what the right level of information is as well. Like we don't want to inundate you guys with more than you really want. But yeah, that is something we're going to start doing, because I think it's important for you guys to see the final outcome of things, or to know that if you guys say one thing and then you're walking down the street and you see a project that looks different than what you approved, maybe the commission made that decision, or maybe they're just doing whatever they want. It's I think, important information for you guys to have, so that if someone is doing something they shouldn't be, you can let us know. But yeah, that's a great point, Angela. I appreciate it. And it is in the works.
Thank you, Dan, and please thank the whole team. I know it's a lot.
Will
A lot
do.
of moving parts.
Yeah. Yeah. If nobody has anything else, I guess, Nia, you can adjourn the meeting when you're ready.
Okay, great. Hold on. I messed up my view here. All right, calling today's Ohio City Historic Design Review Committee meeting to order. Or no, not to order. Adjourned.
Adjourned, yeah.
Sorry.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, one thing real quick, guys. Okay, the meeting's over, so I'm just gonna stop it.